The most important resources of the country is human resources because of the labor force. Labor force refers to a person age 15 years old to 64 years old, may be employed or unemployed, who possess certain skills, abilities, talents, and maturity to be part of the production process. Why labor force is important? There are six importance of the labor force. Number one, it processes the raw materials of agriculture. If there are no labor force, no laborers, workers, how can we utilize and convert the raw materials into finished products? Second, it conserve and utilize natural resources. The minerals, fertile lands, resources or sources of energy, forestry will not be operational if there are no laborers or workers. Third, it acts as a consumer of the products. Though they are workers or they work to create more products, they are also consumers of the produced goods. The production of agriculture and industrial products continues because of consumption of the labor force. Number four, they produce goods that are needed by the economy, like the clothes that you wear, shoes, our books, canned goods, medicines, and other needs of men materialized because of the labor force. Number five, it operate and use machineries and other technology. Workers are the ones who use and operate various machines and apply the modern technology for the development of the industries. So very important because they're the one who is going to manipulate those machineries, those capitals to create more products. Without the laborers, without the labor force, nobody would manipulate, would work, would operate those machines to produce goods and services. Number six, it gave payment of taxes to the government. Especially the labor force are the one who pay income tax annually to the Philippine government in order to support projects of our nation. So this is the source of income of the government, this tax that the government collects to the laborers and to the workers for social overhead capital like schools, bridges, markets, highways, and others. The participation of the labor force in the economic activities can be determined through the labor force participation rate. The labor force participation rate, it is the percentage of labor force who are engaged actively in the production. In order to get the labor force participation rate or the LFPR, we have the formula which is labor force participation rate is equals to labor force over working age population times 100. When we say working age population, these are at the age of 15 years old to 64 years old. Either they are employed, unemployed, or underemployed. So those are the working age population. What is determined by the labor force participation rate is how many in the working age population participate in the labor, in working. So that is why we have to understand the rate in order for us to understand how many people in our country who are engaged in the labor force. When we talk also employment rate, it also tackles about the rate of employed people in the labor force. So, employed persons are those persons in the labor force who are working or with a job or business, while employment is the situation where people have a job. So it is important to monitor the employment status of our people. To do that, employment rate should be identified Now, using the formula above, employment rate is equals to people who have a job, who are employed, divided by the labor force. Then multiply it by 100. Then we can have the employment rate. The perennial problems that confront our economy are unemployment and underemployment. There are reasons why we cannot fully use and maximize our labor force. One is insufficient job opportunities for workers. Another is that the job availability is not suited to the educational attainment of the job seeker. As a result, workers are forced to work or get a job which is not in accordance to their skills nor to their educational qualifications. As you can see in the picture, a lady is holding a cup, though he wear a toga. That means that she graduated college, but she worked in a coffee shop. That is called underemployed. These workers are called underemployed, though they are employed, they have the desire to get additional hours of work in their present job, wants an additional job, or to have new job with longer working hours, or to have a job which is linked with the bachelor's degree that they graduated. Underemployment rate is also emphasized that how many workers who are underemployed not for in a certain labor force. So our formula is underemployment rate is equals to underemployed divided by employed multiplied by 100. So we can have the underemployment rate. There are different types of unemployment that occurs in the economy. First is seasonal unemployment. Losing a job due to change of season or weather. The concept of seasonal unemployment describes a situation when the workers experience unemployment at a certain times of the year when the demand has decreased. Although unemployment is always problematic, the upside is the seasonal unemployment doesn't last eventually. The peak season of a given industry arrives and many workers become employed once again. Many workers adapt to seasonal unemployment by working quite a bit when demand is high and saving up much of their earnings, then living off those savings during their seasons of unemployment. Structural unemployment when people lose their jobs as a result of decline in industries due to technological advancement and change in consumer taste. Structural unemployment is a form of involuntary unemployment caused by mismatch between the skills that workers in the economy can offer and the skills demanded of the workers by employers, also known as the skills gap. Structural unemployment is often brought about by technological changes that make the job skills of many workers obsolete. Another one is frictional unemployment. It is the time period between jobs in which a worker searches for a transitions from one job to another. It is sometimes called search unemployment and can be voluntary based on the circumstances of the unemployed individuals. Cyclical unemployment is caused by downturn in the business cycle. It's part of the natural rise and fall of the economic growth and of course, over time. Cyclical unemployment is a temporary and depends on the length of economic contractions caused by a recession happens when there is economic slowdown or crisis industries and then the firm tends to lay off workers. Unemployment is a serious problem of the economy. That is why it is closely monitored. By knowing the unemployment rate using the formula that we have. Unemployment rate is equals to unemployed divided by labor force multiplied by 100. It is necessary to know that the unemployment rate because it will help the government determine the proportion of labor force who are unemployed and do something to ease the effects of unemployment. Unemployed are those people who do not have jobs or still looking for a job. Many of the labor force are not productive and cannot use their skills and abilities for the development of our economy. So in this case, the government should take necessary measures to solve the problems of underemployment and unemployment. One of the solutions of the government in order to maintain and solve the problem of unemployment and underemployment is inward looking policy. So when we talk about inward looking policy, it's about import substitution. It is needed to maintain the production process despite some problems in foreign trade. And if dollar crisis occurs, local materials will be maximized to help producers to continue production when shortage of foreign materials happen. In that case, the operation of the industries will not be affected. Working abroad is one of the options of workers, whether professional or not, to land a job. Filipino workers are attracted to work abroad because of lack of job opportunities here in our country. They apply and work as a domestic helpers, factory workers, and even undocumented workers abroad. So the Filipino workers are called the OFW or Overseas Filipino Workers and considered as heroes of the modern time. The dollar remittances of the OFW are used in the different economic activities and transactions of our country to boost our economy. Thus, brain drain and brawn drain represents a concrete solution to the problem of underemployment. Brain drain happens when professionals go to other countries to work or to even settle permanently, while brawn drain occurs when our labor force or workers with technical know-how and vocational know-how opt to use and apply their knowledge in a foreign land. To avoid this situation, the government should be determined enough in facing the problems of unemployment and underemployment. One of the solutions that our government had to impose is to attract foreign investors. That is why some of our president, no, they went abroad in order for them to persuade businessmen and other investors to put their business in the Philippines. Investment is very important to one's economy, whether local or foreign, to enable the economy to expand its industries, businesses, and factories that will open more jobs, opportunities for workers. So you can see we have the Mactan Export Processing Zone, the other exporting processing zones in the Philippines like in Laguna. So they were very important in the economy because these are investments created by some foreign industries here in our country. So it's unnecessary to emphasize labor intensive industries to employ more workers rather than capital intensive workers will be fully utilized. Likewise, machines are also necessary in the production of goods and services. So we already know that investment, is very important to one's economy because it will expand the horizon of our business sector. It will expand more opportunities to our workers in the Philippines. The government can give its share in solving the unemployment problem by creating more job opportunities for workers through different projects. According to John Maynard Keynes, the author of the General Theory of Employment, Interest, and Money, Infrastructure projects and investment on different projects by the private sectors can provide additional jobs for workers. Workers are classified based on the skills, abilities, talents they use in performing their skills. We have white collar job, uses and requires more thinking abilities and skills in decision making in the performance of a job, while jobs that require more physical effort and talents in doing the job is called the blue collar job. Whatever the classification of workers, it is certain that government should do something to make the workers productive, members of the economy. Machinery